After months of waiting, teasing, and tiny little teasers from the beginning of 2026, we finally got our first official trailer for Avengers Doomsday. And I am not gonna lie, it was okay. Look, I am genuinely excited for Avengers Doomsday, but I'm not as hyped about it as I have been for basically every other Avengers movie, primarily because with the kerfuffle that has been the MCU post-Endgame and the scrambling of stuff to get things together. But I'm not going to talk about it today, because honestly there was some cool stuff in this Doomsday trailer, and I genuinely do kind of have a feeling that the stuff that I kind of predicted a couple of months back in that 8-minute video on the X-Men potentially working with Doom, or being misled by Doom, might be true. However, I do kind of have to question how things are going to go with the story. I have a general idea based off of this trailer and the promotional key visual that we got for this movie the same time the trailer dropped. So we're just going to jump right into things right now. But obviously, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. I'm probably going to do more MCU stuff here on the channel and more Doomsday talk here and there, depending on what happens here and there with whatever news happens. And if I come up with any other theories. But still, subscribe for more Marvel content, DC content, comic book content in general. I'm planning a couple of things for the rest of the year to try and end things off on a high note. But anyway, the trailer actually begins over at the ruins, from presumably of the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, with narration by what I can only assume is Dr. Doom, saying that something is coming as we see Charles Xavier witnessing an incursion firsthand. Now, this does honestly fully confirm that we are getting an incursion of the Fox X-Men universe, or one of them, based on what we can tell. We then get Doom saying that something is coming that they won't be able to determine, and they will have to eventually make an unthinkable decision as we get our first panning shot of Victor Von Doom in the MCU, freaking finally. In what seems to be in the middle of a battlefield, as obviously we get the Marvel logo to lead us into what the rest of the trailer is going to be, which is literally just everybody assembling. We get a cut of Avengers Tower, with Thor narrating here as he walks in with the Fantastic Four, meeting with the new Avengers, led by Bucky and Yelena, as well as we end up getting what basically remains of the original Avengers, being Sam Wilson as Captain America. Thank you for bringing back Sam as Captain America, because my god, the man needs some love. And he needs a new movie that can actually show why he's a good character. And in this wide shot, we see of basically Thor, the Fantastic Four, the new Avengers, and the Avengers, basically, or what remains. We have Scott Lang, Ant-Man, and obviously we have Thor as well. Now, we did know that the Avengers, New Avengers, and Fantastic Four were going to meet alongside later on with the Wakandans. However, let us look, because before I recorded this video, I was looking online for some trailer reactions, and someone pointed out that there is a space, a very convenient empty space in the middle of this shot, where between Reed, Sue, and Ben and Johnny, there is a noticeable, potentially human-shaped void. And the distance between all the teams is definitely something interesting. So this could either be another character that's supposed to be a surprise for showing up right before everybody goes off to try and fight Doom, or what we can tell is the X-Men, or what people are probably thinking of speculating is that this might be Doom here right now, or Doom in disguise. Since we know that we're doing the incursions and the multiverse and stuff like that, and the Fantastic Four are from another universe, perhaps we're going to have a Dr. Doom from the MCU coming in, or from a destroyed universe, either trying to help them, or what I see is the most likely thing, because apparently there was a script leak of Doomsday, of Doom coming to the Avengers for help. Basically being a wolf in sheep's clothing to manipulate things in the background, which kind of falls in line with what I was kind of expecting things to end up being. But either that or it's some other character that for some reason Marvel is trying to keep hidden from us, because this feels way too suspiciously void. Just like the last Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer, where there's an obvious big empty space, which many presume Daredevil is in it. And all the way back with the No Way Home trailers, where we literally had Spider-Man going up against the multiversal Sinister Six, where Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man were conveniently edited out of that image, so like, this feels very eerily close to that. But yeah, we got the three teams coming together with Thor, as Thor is telling them basically his encounter with Doctor Doom, because of course, Thor is the first one to encounter Doctor Doom if we are going to get the Infinity War Endgame vibes, you know, brought back in, because if you're taking on and scaring Thor, then yeah, you're gonna have to take this threat seriously. Now we're getting a couple of shots now of Shuri and the Wakandans meeting no more in Atlantis, with what I can presume to be an ambassadorial meeting to try and recruit him for the cause to fight, as Thor is telling the Avengers that he has fought alongside many allies in the past that were stronger than the current group put together, and they all died facing people that Thor was never truly scared of. And we then get to see Thor crash land on a wasteland battlefield, charging up Stormbringer as he goes over to face Doctor Doom in the distance. As Thor is hyping up the danger of Doom, we get a blast from the staircase as we see Cyclops from the X-Men in a comic-accurate suit, which looks pretty damn good in live action, I'm not gonna lie. And it is a nice, better shot at Cyclops than the previous teaser that we had months ago of just him launching his optic blasts out of nowhere in a ruined battlefield of the Sentinels. Now then, this area is where we're going to be spending a good chunk of this trailer, and I can't clearly tell where this is. This could either be, from what I can tell and what is the most likely option, a broken down Xavier school where the X-Men reside, or it could be the Sanctum Sanctorum from Doctor Strange in the middle of New York City. But it could be one or the other. Incursions are a thing, so it is relatively obvious that we might end up, jumping to a different Earth. Doctor Strange has not appeared in this trailer yet, because Benedict Cumberbatch is definitely going to be in this movie, but he did have a lingering plot thread with the post-credit scene of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which introduced fully the incursions to the MCU, and him getting taken by Dormammu's daughter to the Dark Dimension for something involving incursions. That was 4 years ago, and we have had no follow-up since. So genuinely, Doctor Strange has got to be here. I swear, if the person missing in that one wide shot is Doctor Strange, I don't see how that is a big secret. But anyway, we continue with this sequence in what I can presume is the Xavier Mansion, as we see Gambit battling against Shang-Chi. And this scene looks really damn cool. Seeing Shang-Chi and Gambit fight is something I was not expecting, but it's really damn cool. Gambit's a really good fighter and resourceful fighter with his really interesting type of kinetic energy-based abilities with his cards and his bow staff. And Shang-Chi, he's armed with the 10 rings. He's armed with a powerful weapon and his mastery of martial arts. So, generally I feel like, well, Shang-Chi should win, but at the same time, Gambit's a badass. Also, it is the exact same Gambit that we saw in Deadpool and Wolverine from what I can tell. Yeah, it's kind of been confirmed already that Channing Tatum was going to be back for this movie, so like, yeah, I kind of expected. Didn't expect him to fight Shang-Chi, but hey, that's really damn cool. But we actually get to see a TVA identification card with Loki on it, as it seems that it's Loki back in the main universe, or perhaps an avatar of him, checking in on what's going on, mainly in the X-Men dimension, from what I can tell, to see what's going on with the incursions. Maybe to, like, guide things in a way where the universe can't be destroyed. Because remember, at the end of Loki Season 2, Loki basically became the king of stories, the god of stories, and is basically the nexus point of the entire multiverse for the MCU to kind of maintain the universe so that there wouldn't be any need for pruning and erasing different universes and existences for the countless and infinite number of worlds that spawn just due to the very nature of the multiverse. So Loki being outside of his realm can mean one or two things. Either A, like I said, it's an avatar so we can actually like interact with people, warn people, and guide them if need be, or he somehow left that realm, maybe because of the incursions, who knows, and is trying to steer things away so that Doom doesn't, make things worse. I don't know, but Loki is definitely the focal point of this movie. There was like a teaser, like a key visual, I guess, poster we got like a little, like 2-3 weeks ago from a convention, I think in China, where it was revealed for a poster image of Doomsday before the trailer came out. Honestly, it's not a good poster, I'm not gonna lie. It seems kind of put together, like hastily put together and lazy. But all I'll say is that Loki is right in the middle of this underneath Doctor Doom, so like, it's pretty obvious that Loki is the key focal point of the story, based off of how things left off with Loki. But we then cut back to Shuri and the Wakandans in what seems like a big open area in the middle of the ocean that is being kept opened up by some form of technology or someone with water manipulation abilities to a long extent, as the Wakandans meet Ben Grimm, The Thing, Susan Storm, as well as some of the Avengers and new Avengers. We see Bucky, Hope Van Dyne, and we see, I think, Ghost. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Ghost. The sunlight is obstructing her face, but I'm pretty sure that is Ghost. But they team up, and we then cut back to what I assume is the X-Mansion with Yelena, Reed, Sam, I think it's Scott in the background, and Herbie, so that's a pretty cool thing. In the background, Reed is holding somebody down out of frame that I cannot tell. For all we know, it could be Charles or Magneto or some other X-Man. But it's then we get our first look at Mystique in this movie, and I will be 100% honest. I think this is the best live-action look Mystique has had in a while. It looks super comic accurate with the white dress. All it's really missing is the I'm just taking a look at this now. She does seemingly have the skull head piece on the top of her head. That is actually really nice, cool attention to detail. I really do like it. And she ends up taking out a baton and shapeshift into Yelena as the two of them begin to fight. So that's going to be a pretty damn cool fight. Mystique's a deadly fighter, and Yelena's a Black Widow, so of course she's going to be a deadly fighter. So that's definitely going to be pretty cool. Two back-to-back X-Men, more hand-to-hand fighter type characters against other hand-to-hand type characters. So that's going to be pretty damn cool. But we also get to see a nice image of Charles and Magneto. Charles grasping onto Magneto's hand. Pretty, I would say, to comfort him for all we know. Perhaps, like, welcoming the ensuing end due to the incursions. And history will say they were just roommates. Huh. Anyway, we also cut to Scott, who is with his daughter, presumably saying goodbye before going off to another big battle where he could potentially die. We get an image of Johnny hugging Sue, presumably, because I have to be honest, we're probably going to get a Johnny Storm sacrifice or death in this movie before leading into Secret Wars, because you gotta end this two-parter-esque movie with some kind of, consequence or character death. I don't want Johnny to die, but I feel like in a self-sacrificial role, it makes sense. Sue and Shuri have an understanding, so that's definitely the solidification of the team up with the Wakandans. We see Sam jumping down in the Xavier Mansion as Gambit slams down with his kinetic blasts with his staff to push everybody in the area away. As we get another pretty long shot of Scott unleashing his optic blast at full force, Sue presumably going all out to try and hold someone back. We see another flash with Namor flying around, obviously with his tiny little winged feet. Now, obviously, this is overlaying with Thor just obviously hyping up Doom and saying this is a tough battle, and that they probably won't return the same way that they did if they do survive this. But if they do return, they'll come back as brothers and sisters. Thor's way, big way of bringing up camaraderie and to just show them that they have to fight together in order to overcome the threat. As we then cut to Thor charging up to try and land a massive blow and take down Doctor Doom. And this is a really cool looking shot. Thor charging up Stormbreaker and going to lay the smackdown on Doom. But Doom catches the axe with just 2 fingers, holding back a full-powered or a farming super powerful Thor. That is a good way to build up hype for a villain. Also, to any anime fans out there, Doctor Doom just pulled an Aizen from Bleach. If you've seen Bleach, the moment where Ichigo charges up at full force to try and take out Aizen, theme song blaring up, and then Aizen just catches his blade and blocks it with a single finger and just stops the theme song in its tracks. Like, the one block just ended the theme song and make you think, oh, we're fucked, aren't we? Honestly, I know I'm an anime fan also, as well as a comic fan, but I'm not gonna lie, if They give a really big, epic soundtrack for Thor in this instance, and they just cap off the soundtrack with Thor's music just basically getting turned off the second Doom stops his attack. I think that'll be perfect. But from this, we get our first close-up look at Dr. Doom's face. The mask I do honestly pretty much really like. Thor is screaming as we cut to black once more, but Thor also saying that if we're going to overcome all this, we're definitely going to need a miracle. As we see what I believe is Thor holding Mjolnir, as someone calls out saying old friend, with Thor in disbelief saying it's not possible. Thor giving out his hammer, holding it out, as this mysterious person holds out their hand, as Mjolnir comes to his hand, as we see that it is Steve Rogers back in the MCU again with a smile on his face. As we get the title card for Doomsday saying how much time is left before Doomsday occurs, and that is going to happen December 18th. And that's it for a trailer. Honestly, again, it was a fine trailer. For something that we never got any like real build-up to from a previous movie or show to a pretty substantial extent, I think it did enough to get me relatively excited for Doomsday. Do I think it's going to be the next massive MCU mega hit? I don't know, maybe. I don't think it's going to do like Infinity War and Endgame numbers. Then again, Spider-Man's not in this movie, so like we could definitely lose a big audience there if I'm being honest. But genuinely, the only thing that they're going to have to do is up the marketing for Doomsday to hype people up for this movie. Because based off of this trailer, I can genuinely assume that Doom is going to be playing everyone against each other so he can just go and take Loki's spot as the King of Stories, make Battleworld, be God Emperor Doom, stop all the incursions, save existence, but make himself the god at the very end of it. And what honestly kind of sells this is the new key visual for the movie that was released, showing Dr. Doom in front of what looks like a giant tapestry of what I presume is a mother and her son, the world enveloped by a smoke cloud like a brand new world, as well as multitudes of figures around like a very old school portrait that we can assume. Honestly, this is pretty obvious, like, yeah, Doom is going to see himself as the guy to like bring the world back together in harmony. That's kind of Doom's whole shtick. He believes he can do the right thing and that he'll fix the world himself. But Doomsday has a lot of heavy lifting, because they have to not only build up the character of Doom, develop him enough for us to truly understand him and his motivations, make him out to be a genuine threat, and then obviously since Secret Wars is next, make a way for him to win. And generally it makes sense for him to win, because outside of Thor, we don't have any other heavy hitters outside the Fantastic Four. Sure, Shuri is strong and Shang-Chi has the 10 rings of power, but outside of that, I doubt Bob is going to become the Sentry. I don't even think he's in this movie, if I'm being honest. I don't think the Sentry's going to show up in this movie. He's a pretty substantial powerhouse that I think would actually be able to stand up to Doom to an extent. We don't have Captain Marvel from what I can see. Her casting is not confirmed yet, unfortunately. So, like, genuinely, the Avengers don't have as many heavy hitters anymore. Yeah, Steve's back with Mjolnir. That's really damn cool. They still have to freaking explain how Steve is back? I genuinely have no idea. They have to give a good reason to explain why he came back from the past, that this is the same Steve from the end of Endgame, even though he's supposed to be an old man now in the present. They're making it hopelessly convoluted, and while I do understand that they're bringing back some of, literally, the trinity of the MCU, effectively, of Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, and Chris Evans, it is very obvious that they are trying to pander to nostalgia from the early days of the MCU and even the Fox X-Men movies, and it is a shame, because this could have been generally a massive, monumental Marvel event if they planned things out right with the time that they've had since the Jonathan Majors situation in, like, I think 2023, since freaking Ant-Man 3. Like, they had time to not just make this movie, but to make other projects that they probably should have made important, or to tease Doom, like the freaking Fantastic Four movie, to, build it up properly. But they didn't, because this whole kerfuffle messed up with a lot of things. And now we have a Doomsday movie with Doom as the antagonist without any proper build-up. And it is a shame, because Thanos was built up through multiple movies of just teasing him in the background, him masterminding and plugging things in specific movies. Loki was from Thor, so he had the threat level to be an antagonist, and now he had his own army from the first Avengers movie, so that was also feeling like a big event to bring all our heroes that we've seen up to this point together. Avengers Age of Ultron didn't have its own real build-up, but it didn't need to at the time, because the Avengers are stuff that we could have outside of the other stories. But after Avengers Age of Ultron, everything basically got set up for Infinity War to end off that whole saga. Doomsday doesn't have that, and that's definitely its biggest weakness. I am excited for the movie, I just don't think it's going to be anything super fantastic. I would love to be proven wrong. It's the Russo brothers, and I genuinely want this movie to succeed. But at the end of the day, all we can do is wait. The second trailer will probably be out like 2 to 3 months before the movie releases, so I'd expect around October, November, we'll get our second trailer, if I'm being honest with you guys, and it'll probably lead us to more of the story. While I do genuinely like when trailers don't give us the entire story, the issue is that this is supposed to be a big team-up event film. If you don't like tease it at least a few times, then it doesn't. Then mainly for a movie, it doesn't have the luster, the hype behind it as much as Marvel thinks it does. But you guys let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this trailer. I enjoyed it, but I don't think it was anything too spectacular, especially in comparison to other Avengers trailers. But it could be good at the end of the day. I'm being hopefully optimistic here. Let me know your thoughts, opinions, theories on what this movie could be. Do you think it's going to succeed? Do you think it's going to do big numbers? Or do you think it's going to do relatively okay based off of how things have been handled thus far? Let me know. And with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have an awesome day.